I'm making another album, and this week I feel like I've finally made a breakthrough. Because what happened was, since the last time, I definitely got on with it, and I ended up finally listening to all of the splurges that I made, so it was about 160 odd, and doing the processing that you have to do with them in terms of the machine. And what I decided to do was put a load of them into Discovery and do some turbo discovery sessions where simply I essentially just had another go at a splurge on them. So it's like splurging on a splurge, but really focusing on the song, the vocal, the lyrics, and the way that I was singing. So it's funny actually, not exactly the performance. I mean, although it is the performance in a way, it was more how far I could take the performance, like how much the pieces could be carried by the performance, because this is all new to me. So really, I just went for it, and I really enjoyed it, and I definitely got into momentum and got through. I think there was, I don't know, around 14 or so tracks in Discovery that I did sessions on, and so now I've got no more splurges to listen to. But then on Sunday Monday, which is the Magic Music Machine call, I was in this position where I kind of slightly ground to a halt again, and I was like, oh, what's going on now? And through a conversation with one of the Make an Album with Mike people, he said that he was feeling behind with his album, like me, and that he had not decided on a purpose. And I think this was one of the things that had been holding me back, and that for some reason I haven't decided on a purpose either. So today, and we made a pact, a purpose pact, that we would both, by the Make an Album with Mike call, which is tomorrow, decide on a purpose. We'd both decide, because the thing is, I was falling into the trap, which many people do, and I've spoken to many people about this over the years, the trap of believing that there's some kind of purpose pixie that comes and lands on your shoulder and says, this is the purpose of the piece of music, or this is the purpose of the album, because sometimes it can feel like that. So, for example, and I think this was my problem, in the last album, the one that I spoke about on this podcast, the fifth album, the one I just finished and haven't released properly yet, although you can hear it, I have at least released it on this podcast, on the episode called Here It Is. Anyway, so on that album, it was like the purpose kind of came to me. I noticed the decision as to what it was going to be about fairly early on, and it just felt, I was very sure of it. And I'll get to why the purpose is so important in a second. But with this one, I was kind of unsure about it and haven't really made that kind of decision. And the problem with not making that kind of decision, what it's about, what I'm trying to say, what the message of the album is, or what the story of the album is, what the structure of it's going to be, in terms of what the journey of it is. Because the fifth album was all about, it was about the creative process. It was like a love letter to the creative process. So it was, in a way, using the metaphor of a love story and the creative. So basically, the metaphor was the creative process was a metaphor for love, romantic love, and romantic love was a metaphor for the creative process. And that gave me a specific structure around which I could choose the songs. It gave me so I could decide which of the songs to put on there, which order to put them in, all of these different kind of things. Because there's a very specific way in which I talk about, how to sequence these things and the purpose of an album wants to give a authentic core experience which goes through different stages. And so it gave me the track order. It was a way of choosing the tracks. It was a way of finishing the tracks. I mean, even within the tracks themselves, even within the songs themselves, having this purpose helped me finish the songs because they also kind of have a certain structure which fulfill this purpose. And with this one, I just haven't decided. Now, I had an idea in the back of my mind that I wanted to make some music about what's happening in technology at the moment, the AI revolution that's been going for a long time, but it's, hit the public consciousness, and certainly mine, in the last few months. So that was something I wanted to sing about. But I think one of the things that was holding me back was that this particular subject isn't probably going to age very well, right? So in a few, maybe a few months' time or a few years' time, if we still exist at that point, it's like it's going to, just imagine somebody writing an album about the internet back in like the mid-90s or something. That album probably wouldn't age so well, right? The thing is, and that, I think in the back of my mind, that was one of the things that was stopping me from doing it. But it's what I'm thinking about all of the time. Well, not all the time, but a lot of the time, it's kind of very much at the forefront. It's like the thing that is on my mind at the moment, beyond my children and my wife and all that kind of stuff. It is the thing that's on my mind that's I'm thinking about, when I wake up in the middle of the night, when I wake up in the morning, it's just such a huge thing in my mind, and working with the new tools and wondering what will happen, and the fear of what might happen, and do I believe this person or do I believe that person, and just trying to work out what on earth to think about this crazy technological revolution that's happening around our ears. It's just got me all of a dither. And in comparison to that, writing an album kind of seems a little bit like, ugh. And so it makes sense that I probably need to make this album about this, because that will be expressing where I'm at. And if it is dated, if it is dated in a few years and it just sounds ridiculous, and some of the things that sort of come out of it, some of the emotions that I express or whatever it is that I end up saying on this album just seem completely ridiculous in a few years' time, hey, it doesn't matter, because it's a document of now. It's a document of how it felt to be alive right now at a pivotal moment in human history, which I'm pretty sure we're at right now. So, even if it doesn't age well, it still will fulfill something that I think is very important to me. And I'll look back on it with probably a bit of an embarrassment, but also fondness as well. So what I did was, so as you can hear, I've given the game away. I've made the decision to make this album about how I feel about AI in general and how I feel about this technological revolution. And I hadn't made this decision because basically it's now it's now Thursday, and I've got the Make an Album with Mike call on Friday, and I promised I made a public commitment that I was going to decide on the purpose by the next Make an Album with Mike call. So this afternoon I absolutely had to do it. So I started listening to how many tracks did I have? Well, including the ones that I'd just done these discovery sessions on, I had 10 in done, I think about 7 in draft, and then another 12 or something in discover. So I listened to the ones in done first, and all of them bar one seemed to fit, because I was thinking, you know what, I think I really need to sing about this AI, but let's just see if this AI thing is going to work with the music that I have, because I wasn't sure. So with the ones in done, 9 of them would definitely fit this subject area. And then I started listening to the others. And long story short, it turns out that 18 of the tracks that I have in my machine are all pointing to this subject matter. So it may well be that unconsciously this is what I was singing about, this is what I was writing about anyway, without even knowing about it. Which is weird, because I remember thinking throughout the last few weeks, when I've not been deciding on a purpose, that it was weird how I didn't seem to be really singing about this thing that I wanted to sing about. But it strikes me that maybe I was just trying to avoid it or something. And I was about to say I'm kicking myself for not making this decision earlier, because I am sure that if I'd have made the decision as to what this album was about, when I told the whole of the rest of the Make an Album with Mike group to make the decision, which was a good few weeks ago, I would be much further ahead with my album. I mean, I'm sure it's not the only reason I've been struggling. I had been struggling to keep up the momentum. I think there's a number of different reasons, but I think this definitely adds to it because, as I said, when I was comparing what was on my mind all the time, which was this AI stuff, with writing an album, it just didn't feel as important. But now, obviously, what I'm doing is I am making this album about the AI stuff, in scare quotes, whatever the AI stuff means, but with about this kind of brain explosion that's occurring. So it now is a way of me actually processing it. It's a way of me thinking it through. It's actually enhancing my experience of what is going on right now. So I'm really excited about it. And of course, apart from all that, just knowing what it is the album is about has given me this certainty, this motivation, this fire to complete it. So even though I'm significant, I think fairly behind, well, actually maybe I'm not as behind as I think I am now. I've made this decision. But even though I may be somewhat behind where I was this time last album, I'm confident I can bring it home on time, because now I have a direction, now I have a purpose.